Everyone, welcome to this wonderful month of July. For those of us and all of us in education, the clock is ticking, and it's really ticking fast. So we will begin with roll call, please.
Dr. Baker.
Here.
Ms. Shassel, not present. Dr. Davis, not present. Ms. Gonzalez. Here. Dr. Houston, not present. Ms. LaGriere.
Here.
Ms. Louise. Here. Ms. Patrick. Here. Sister Carol. Present. Dr. Mark Williams.
Here.
And Ms. Williams. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Now we'll have the our guest introduce themselves. Start in the corner. Good job. Okay, on the other side. What? You're a guest, honey? That's okay, but that's okay. Yeah, just tell us about it. We want to know who's in the room.
Alrighty. Hi, my name is Sarah Eversole. I'm an intern under Ashley with LDOE.
You're gonna know all the ins and outs of what goes on, so we're glad you're here.
Tom Costanzo, Assistant Education Choice.
Christy Ballou, Director of Certification.
Dr. Kevin with Educator Talent and Workforce Development.
Sylvia Davis, newly appointed superintendent for the Diocese of Alexandria.
Thomas Moran from the Good Shepherd School of New Orleans.
Melanie Mayu, I am with the Department of Federal Support, and I am one of the section supervisors.
Daphne Flipbois, State Ombudsman with Federal Programs and Grantee Relations.
Denise Bourgeois with Office of School Choice. I'm Executive Director of Nonpublic Programs.
I'm Ashley Townsend, Deputy Chief of Policy.
I'm Jamie Nixon. I'm the Computer Science and STEM Supervisor here at the department. Nikki Landry, Executive Director of Education Policy with the department.
Kevin Calvert, Message Staff.
Keith Leger, School Choice Liaison, Department of Ed.
Great, thanks to all of you for being here. When I looked at the agenda, I said, you know, so it comes quickly when you have to elect a chair and a vice chair. So I open for, every year, I guess when you're having fun, it really gets here quickly. So I open the floor for nominations for the election of a chair. Don't all talk at one time.
I nominate Anna for chair.
Second.
That's because y'all want those king cakes.
That's what it takes.
Any other nominations? I guess I accept. Thank you very much. I guess when an old hag takes over, nobody else wants to take over. But anyway, it's always a privilege to be here with you all. And you know, I told somebody just a few minutes ago, the clock is ticking for me as well because you know, I'm up in age, but until the Lord you know, knocks me over and calls me to another avenue of retirement, I continue to do what I love to do in Catholic education and education period. So thanks to all of you for being a part of my books. I don't have just one book that I'm going to write, I have several. And I'll give each of you an autographed copy. So now I'll open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Sister Carol.
Any other nominations? Nominations are closed. Sister, do you accept?
I do.
Oh, I'm sorry, need a second.
Second.
I accept, but I am not a half. Soon to be though.
Sister Carol does all the legwork behind the scenes. When I need to know something, I text Sister Carol, and within 5 minutes, we get the answer.
That's right.
So those of you at the department, know Sister Carol well. Because you don't want to know me, she's nicer than I am. But anyway, both of us are happy to serve in that, in the role that you have elected us to serve. Okay, oh Jesus.
That's good and appropriate.
That's a very appropriate. More at all. when Shannon sent out the email, if you didn't click on to see the minutes were there, I'll give you just a few seconds just to look at the minutes of the March meeting, and then I will entertain a motion to receive the minutes. And moving forward, Shannon will, when she sends it out, she will attach the minutes, you know, to the email. That way, we don't have to take time for you to look over them. So I need a motion to receive. Sister Carol, second. Approved. Dr. Baker. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. So now we will move on to our first item on our agenda, state and federal funding matters. Is that you, my honor?
A free report regarding the Louisiana scholarship.
The scholarship program. Okay. I need a motion to receive the report. Lisa Patrick, second.
Second.
Dr. Mark Williams.
Have a point of
Yeah.
Confused off.
It's been finicky this morning, so if I have to go up there and.
Yeah, it's not
I'll let you know, okay,
I have to go up.
It's almost like it went to sleep or something. It's been acting up. While she's getting that settled, good morning, everyone. I think I recognize almost everybody in the room. This is kind of a brief report. You know, we don't really get into our full statistics until September, but this will give you a little snapshot of where we are this year, particularly with LSP and TDC. I did want to also give you 2 updates on our office. We lost 2 of our really awesome team members. We lost Tajiri, who helped do the non-public enrollment and all of the Bessie apps. And we also lost Yoshana, who had been with us for several years. Yoshana went over to early childhood, so and she had been there a long time before, and so she was anxious. You know, she was very excited to get back there. Oh, thank you. So. It'll be really important right now during time of flux that we use the help desk boxes, because their 2 boxes have been disconnected, obviously, but I've been monitoring, you know, all of the help desk boxes. We are interviewing, so I'm hoping to have, you know, 2 people on board before the beginning of the season. So if you need something, you know, either email me directly or email one of the help desk boxes, and we'll make sure that we close that circle for you for whatever you need. Okay, so we were very excited this year to welcome 3 new schools to LSP. They aren't new to the world, but they were new to us. And so every year when we add a school, it's fabulous for the program, because that's another area of opportunity we're opening up for students who may not have had that opportunity in their neighborhood or in their area. I was going to hand out the list for LSP participating schools and for TDC, but then I was like, well, there's links all over this for, you know, emails and everything else for communications. So I'm going to email that out to everybody. That way it's much more useful. It's no sense in having it on paper if you can't click on anything. So I will be sending that out after the meeting. Okay, this again is just a quick snapshot of where we are so far this season. Remember that the transfer window is still open, and so students are still moving around and parents are making last-minute decisions. We do still have a really strong influx of applicants. Last year we had 6,863 applicants, and this year we had 7,672. So lots of interest in it. I think a lot of that has to do with the economy. Obviously, those are not all eligible, and you can see, you know, how some of the numbers go down the chart. Next time in September, we'll have a full comparison. Once, you know, Q1 gets settled a little bit, we'll be able to see fully a comparison between 23-24 and 24-25. But the program is still in really, you know, great position, serving students everywhere. We do have, I guess, a couple of dozen students that are on the wait list. Those are all students that did not have a second choice, and so in their school that they wanted to attend. So if the parent decides at the last minute, okay, here's a second choice, we can try and do that if the school still has availability. But we did whittle the wait list down completely to just those that did not have a second choice. Any questions or anything on those numbers? I know it's just a quick snapshot, but it's good to see that the program is still going really strongly in the community. So most important update for today, tomorrow is our July monthly call, and I know it's already upon us, but we are going to be talking about all of the submissions and forms and everything that starts coming due, once school starts. We'll also be providing some important dates, and we'll be providing some updates on non-public enrollment and also the BESI application cycle. I don't know that we're going to be moving to EdLink this year for BESI. We're really hoping to, but I don't know if that's going to be all in line. So we're trying to make some decisions on that. So hopefully we'll have an update on that tomorrow during the call. If not, we will certainly put out notifications to everyone of when enrollment will open and when BESI applications will open. Okay. So I wanted to also give you a quick snapshot of the TDC program. We talked a lot last year that TDC was really coming on strong in some areas, and again, we will have all those same slides we had last year updated in September. But I did want to point out the STOs that are still participating with the program. There has been one that has consolidated, but their schools are still participating. Everything is rolled into one of the other STOs. And again, I will send out the electronic list with all of the nice links and connections after the meeting for all of the participating TDC schools if you need that for any reason. So these are some initial numbers on TDC. And again, you can see, obviously, there's a variety of interest, and I think a lot of that has to do with the number of schools that the STOs participate with and the number of returning students. They have an extremely high level of returning students with their program. So, these numbers, again, just like with LSP, holding very strong, and I think, again, that's because of a lot of the economic situations that some parents are finding themselves in. So, I think we've talked to so many parents and this year in particular that are just very, very appreciative of these programs, very appreciative of the opportunities that it gives their student, and just very thankful that they have this option. And that's about all that I have this time. Like I said, short and sweet. September will be much longer. Any questions, any concerns or anything? Yes, ma'am.
This is just a question. In regard to the Gator, will that be a part of your work, for example, or?
It will be part of school choice. It's not going to be part of my specific world, but it will be part of school choice. Our assistant superintendent, Jermaine Gilson, is heading that up in our department right now. I think today they're actually having vendor meetings. She would really be the main point of contact on that.
Okay. And is your office also working in with this survey letter that will be sent out to the superintendents before it reaches the schools? Because I know that's part of, basically as director of LDOE, understand, to the survey about capacity, about our curriculum, about...
Is that in regards to LA Gator? Yes, then I really don't, I haven't been...
Our student accountability analytics team is working on that. So they're heading with that data report and putting all that information together.
Okay, let me ask another question. In regard to the Catholic schools, when this survey goes out, will it go to individual schools or will it come to us first, superintendents?
It sounds like you would prefer it go to you all first?
It really does. So
I'll make that recommendation.
Because we'll want to collect that data as well, the diocese rather than the school.
That makes sense. I'll make that recommendation. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Ashley.
Can I ask a question about the Gator Scholarship? Can you send to us the contact for the LA Gators program, please?
Sure. Ashley, you know the whole, who all's involved in that? I'm really not.
Yeah, if y'all have Jermaine Gilson, which is not. She's probably the best one, and she can direct emails to.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then if it's a question for somebody else, she can direct it to that person too.
Thank you.
So not to say that I won't know kind of what's going on in that world, but we do have, this year with LSP, we have this year with SCP and with TDC, and so those are my three big focus streams still. So Jermaine and our Chief of Staff, Caleb Moore, have really been taking on a lot of the weight with the ESA and getting that started. Yes, ma'am, did you have another question? Okay.
Any further discussion?
Any opposition? Thanks, Denise.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along, 5.1, consideration of revisions to Bulletin 741 non-publics. Who's taking that?
Give me 1 second, next my hair.
Oh.
So I don't want to forget to don't do that.
She's going to do it. I need a motion to receive. Lisa Patrick, I need a second. Second. Mr. Carroll.
Okay. I have some updates for you all from session this year. As you probably know, it was a really busy session. So we just have a tiny sample of what went through to talk about. But if you have questions about something else, you'd like to talk about something else, let me know and we can do a little bit of that too as time allows. So I think you all have a copy of the revisions to Bulletin 741 non-public. A few of the ones I wanted to go over, because they're going to impact that bulletin. The immunization, there's the one about COVID requirements. You can't require the COVID vaccine for enrollment in the school, whether it's a new student or an existing student. And then discrimination based on immunization status, even when it comes to seating arrangements or participation in activities. So we'll update the bulletin to include that language as well. The mandatory reporters, this has school resource officers as mandatory reporters, and it changes a little bit of the language to make sure that there's not a barrier between someone becoming aware of information and the appropriate personnel being notified. So some schools may have policies that require a teacher or any school staff who becomes aware of something to report something up the ladder before it gets reported out to DCFS or law enforcement, but that's not okay anymore. So you'll want to check your school policy to make sure that you don't have something that could be considered a barrier between that reporter and the appropriate agency being informed. So that's a great, just check on that. We'll update that language as well. Then for marijuana products and vapes, the vapes with marijuana in them, it's lumped that in with the penalties that can be assigned for controlled substances. So that's there, and then also, not that this specifically applies to you all, but in public school discipline, possession on campus of a vape is now grounds for an expulsion. So it's not a required expulsion, but it's a permissive expulsion. So that's an update that we'll be making to the public school policy. I know some of you like to parallel that in some areas, so I thought that might be interesting to you as well.
Quick question on that.
Sure.
Of any vape or of a marijuana-based vape?
Of any vape.
Okay.
So the marijuana-based one has those greater legal consequences associated with it, but any vape could be grounds for an expulsion. And there's some interesting work that the Attorney General's office is doing right now on looking at some pilot programs to combat the prevalence of vaping in schools right now. Students, very young students are becoming very badly addicted to these, and so there's some work being done there that hopefully will bring some good results and things that we can apply to other schools and make resources available and things like that. So the training and instruction requirements, a lot of required trainings were repealed from the statute. And so what we're doing, some of these apply to you all, some of them did not, but we've updated the training requirements list to remove the ones that are no longer mandatory. The couple that we're keeping, so suicide prevention And then bullying prevention, instead of that annual recurring training requirement, we're gonna do 1 hour initial. And then if you have your documentation that that 1 hour initial has been completed, then you're good. So if a teacher moves to a different school, if that teacher could say, I completed my training, here's my documentation of completed training, there's not a need to do that training over again. So we still have to survey all the public schools to see if they've done the training and if they can provide documentation that their teachers have been trained. But that doesn't mean that the training has to be repeated every year for those who've already completed it. Where we're putting that is in the school safety plan as a preventive measure. So, teachers do come with a lot of information about bullying and suicide, and they bring a lot with them, but it's important for them to know now that you're working in a school, here's what the procedure looks like, here are some things to look out for, but that's something that you all can handle in your own schools as you see appropriate, as long as that 1 hour of initial training has been completed. Several of the other trainings, what we're moving to is instead of an actual in-person, you're watching a video or you're listening to a presentation training, some of those things can be satisfied through just provision of information. And some of those things might be better accomplished through provision of information. For example, if there's something with some warning signs and a hotline that you could call, that may be a better thing to have as a piece of paper near a teacher's desk for them to reference throughout the year, instead of a video that they watch for a few minutes along with 15 other videos the first day of school and then don't think about it again after that. So some of the trainings that historically have been complete this video or complete this training are now be provided with information. And so you'll see some of the information that's repealed on your policy draft. So up there on the written policies, that letter C that was repealed, that's the adverse childhood experiences. This is an example of something that you've been required to do that training once a year, but now you can satisfy that through provision of information. We talked with the Louisiana Department of Health about this, and they wanted me to relay that they have made some improvements to their training. They had to create it really quickly and without a lot of funding that first year that they made it. But they've gotten a lot of feedback from teachers and they made some improvements to it. So if you're using that, they wanted me to pass that along. But you also might just provide your teachers with information for here are some warning signs and some things to look out for, or this student has had this experience, here's how we're handling it, that kind of thing. So you could handle that with provision of information. The suicide prevention, the A through A7 that's repealed, that's all of that really explicit content of the training that was there. And we're putting together some resources now that we'll send out to system leaders in the next couple of weeks that just have some resources you could use. So here are some videos you could use, here are some free resources that you can use to accomplish that training requirement. And then the bullying training, same thing. That was that really detailed information about all the things that have to be included. We'll have some resources that we'll share for things that could be used to satisfy that requirement. And then the 988 on school IDs, this is something that a lot of people have already done, is put the suicide prevention hotline on. I think there was some confusion about what exactly that hotline was, and so they just wanted to specify that is 988. So if you probably already have that. I know my high schoolers already have it on the back of their IDs, so, but if you didn't, it needs to actually have that 988 on the back of school IDs if your school issues IDs. Okay, any questions on those so far? I know that was kind of fast. So some upcoming revisions, the first one I wanted to highlight computer science. So this we're looking at over the next couple of months. There won't be any revisions at August, Bessie, but in October, Bessie, we'll have the computer science standards for grades K through 12. This is really exciting. It'll be Louisiana's first set of computer science standards, and ours are going to be really, really great. So we are very excited about this. The Louise team is leading up that work. So in October, Bessie will have those standards to consider for approval. They'll have to go through that Administrative Procedures Act process with the NOIs and everything, so it'll take them a few months to be final. And then we'll have lots of resources and training coming out about that. Also in October, you'll see updates to teacher preparation requirements, where for elementary teachers, they'll incorporate training on how to teach computer science in with their teacher prep programs. So not a separate standalone class, but ways to incorporate that, ways to, just a better way of doing what we're already doing, ways that you can incorporate computer science in with your content that you're already teaching. And then in December, we'll bring the language to put that graduation requirement in place, because it has to go to a Bessie Board of Regents joint meeting. It will be a TOPS requirement. And there's a several year phase up to that. So the first graduating class that this applies to is the class of 2030. But starting in 26, 27, or 27, 28, elementary schools, maybe 26, 27, elementary schools have to, you have your slide up here, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, so elementary schools have to incorporate computer science into existing courses. So you'll notice whenever you see the computer science standards come out, that there are math standards built into the computer science standards because there's so much really good crossover there. And then you'll see that with some science practices and some of the other content as well too. And the department's going to be putting out resources to help teachers identify where it makes sense to do that. Instead of having to put in this other different lesson, how could you make a tweak to this math lesson to also make it a computer science lesson and vice versa. And then for grades 6 through 8, the requirement will be to offer an exploratory computer science course. And then the requirement for high school will be to, every school will need to offer computer science, and 1 unit of computer science will be required for graduation. The computer science course will be able to satisfy an elective credit, a science credit, a foreign language credit, or a math credit, certain courses. And the department will put out lots of guidance about which courses can be used for which subjects and things like that. One thing that we are trying really hard to do as we develop the standards is make that high school computer science course really adaptable. The vision for that is that if you take a computer science exploratory course in middle school, or if you don't, that computer science one in high school should be accessible to you, and there should be lots of different ways that you can fulfill that. So maybe you take a robotics course, or a programming course, or a visual coding program design something course, or maybe something that doesn't exist yet, but that those standards should be nimble enough to be able to adapt to lots of different areas. So also of interest to you all, I know this can be satisfied through a proficiency test, which I know is, it always presents a struggle for you all with scheduling. But so you could, depending on how you structure your middle grades, there's a way, I think, to still do some proficiency test measures that I know may be helpful to non-public schools. Okay, we also have Jamie Nixon here, who this is her team's work. So if you have any questions about computer science. One of the questions that I have for you all, you know, you're here, and so you're hearing this, and there's lots of time between now and when the requirement is in place. Jamie's here, she can tell you information about training opportunities that are available for teachers. But one question I have is we have so many non-public schools that aren't represented here. They're not part of a group that's going to make sure that they get them information. So I'm interested in what recommendations you have for how we engage them. How do we make sure that they know about this in time to be able to prepare for it? You know, with financial literacy, that requirement was structured so that a teacher with any background would be able to teach it because it's mostly things that you just need to know as an adult to be able to function financially in the real world. But computer science, there's a little bit of a learning curve for a lot of teachers, and so we want to make sure people have enough time to prepare and make sure that they've got a teacher who can teach this whenever it comes time. So do y'all have any recommendations for us on the best way to engage schools that won't necessarily find the information out from a group that they're affiliated with?
Okay, I just need to ask a question.
Sure.
Computer science, is this a 1 credit course?
Yes.
That's part of TOPS. Going to, and can be transferred over from middle school to high school.
That's a tricky question.
Right, you can take the high school course in middle school.
But it has to follow policy.
Yeah.
And y'all are a lively group, I will just say. I've enjoyed walking in here today to talk to you, just to see you interact. The purpose of us showing you all of this way up front is to get the information out there early and often so that this doesn't come as a surprise or people are unprepared. So again, we have a long runway here, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have and support you all.
You know, the tail that wags this dog is the TOPS at the end, right? And so I think that's probably going to be the best way to get this information out to schools, for them to understand. Everyone is always concerned about that, and so that's always one of the first questions. So if there is some requirement that there will be for TOPS kind of compliance, then I think kind of hitting that way might be the way to get it out. Now, that won't help for obviously K-8 schools or things like that, but even those that could at least start the conversation because they'll feed into somewhere. So,
Not that I need one more job or one more thing to do, but because of other things that have kind of surfaced that touch all the non-public schools. I just got back from Nebraska at like 1 o'clock this morning, went to a National CAPE meeting. So we're going to start a Louisiana affiliate for the Council for American Private Education, which will encompass all non-public schools. Anybody want to volunteer to be a part of this? It's strictly voluntary right now because we don't have any money, we don't have budget, we're just like grassroots doing it because it's so important that all non-publics be included and that we all have a voice as one group and we have a way to communicate with one another and get information to the department and from the department. So that's kind of one of the arms of CAPE in other states is that kind of facilitating communication between non-public schools, especially those who are independent of a diocese or a system. So we're excited about starting it, but yeah, it's gonna be, you know, in the next couple of months, we'll make some progress. But as soon as we get it started, I'll reach out to somebody in the department.
I'll send her information when I send Jermaine's as well.
To be a liaison to the organization, so that we can get information to the people who need it, elementary and secondary.
So I think too, for that instruction required in grades K through 5, reaching out in all of the teacher information, letting non-public school teachers know that they're invited to department work when the departments do that regional training and everything, so that there's no mistake that non-public teachers can go. Because that's a question I always get.
Yes.
Well, can we go to these regional forums? And so providing a vehicle for registration for that or for information to make sure that's out there for those teachers, they're going to have to be doing this work in middle school because I think at the high school level, you know, you're right, Paul, with TOPS, they're going to be more prepared for this, but at the younger grade levels, we're going to need some.
And I think
some professional
the most
development.
direct way to do that for my schools is through the LEAs. Like
Right.
if you get that information to the LEAs, have the LEAs get that to school leaders in addition to us giving it to our leaders. But to those who don't have a system, a superintendent, like they are still dealing with the LEA. So that could be another big avenue for.
And we'll use, so again, we do have that runway. There will be overview webinars and implementation webinars. We'll make sure that we use all of our communication methods, our newsletters, you know, our social media, all of those things. We'll make sure that we try to get that message out as widely and as broadly as possible. The other two things I want to put on your mind are Ignite and Energize. If you've ever seen that on Facebook anywhere, those are our two professional learning initiatives in K-5 and 6 through 12, and they are supported by our state funds. So if you're not sure, like, ooh, is that for us? Should we do that? Yes, we're trying to, again, prepare the runway, set the foundation so that teachers are ready, they have the foundational knowledge needed, and it doesn't come as a shock.
So are you saying that state PD money, Title II, Title IV is used for that so that our teachers are able to participate in that?
Right now,
we're just invited?
Right now, those programs are being offered, and I'm looking into like the nuance of, is it a non-public versus public school teacher? Is there like a question around that? Because in the past, this last school year when we ran that program, it was only for our public schools. And so I'm looking in and getting additional details about how we can include you all.
To her point.
Yes, we are definitely looking into that. We don't want you to be left behind at all, definitely.
So maybe that's some work at the work group.
Yes.
Wait, didn't you say it's state money? Okay.
Do you feel like that the LEAs do a good job of sharing information with the non-public schools in their areas? I heard you feel like if we send something to them,
It
you have to
varies
share.
by LEA. We could have good working relationships with ours mostly, so if Daphne asks them to send something to non-public schools, they're on it, right? So it may be as simple as saying, Daphne, can you please pass this on to your LEA contacts so that they can disseminate to non-public schools.
Agree. It sounds like we might also need to provide some guidance and resources around non-public schools if it's not an option to go to one of those programs, so that you all are taken care of as well. So I'll take that as a note. Thank you. Any other questions?
Ms. Mixon, hi, how you doing? In addition to the LA STEM sponsored projects that you mentioned, Ignite K-5 and Energize 6 to 12, what other information is available regarding teacher PD? The complete list of approved, state-approved vendors, et cetera?
Sure. I think all that information will be coming out past our standards, and so we'll provide that information as it becomes available on our website.
After they're released,
Since you just walked in, could you introduce yourself to the
Sure.
board, please?
Charlie Barnes, Executive Director of NOAA Code. We are a New Orleans-based nonprofit. We provide direct instruction in computer science, computer engineering to our partner K-12 schools in around the Greater New Orleans area. And we would like to help, in addition to providing direct instruction to our partnering charter schools in around Greater New Orleans, seek to help build capacity within our partnering schools that should implement this forthcoming legislation. Now that Act 211 is finally long the last on the books. So, and again, sorry for being late. There was a accident to be cleared on the I-65.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any opposition?
I did have this, because I want to get kind of ahead. The Act 1, the Gator program that you asked about, we are planning to have the bulletin revisions for that at August 17th to be able to start the timeline moving on that. And you'll see lots of information coming out about how to apply, how to be participating, how to all of that. So if you have any kind of general questions about it, I can maybe help with that, but I really want to know what's planning for that in August. Students would start enrolling March 1st, and then subject to appropriation of funding next year, they would participate for the next school year, the 25-26 school year. So, but it is subject to legislative funding.
But the first year is just for the scholarship students, right?
So the first year is for, so there's phase 1, there's scholarship students, there's students entering kindergarten for the first time, students who were enrolled in a public school the previous year, and students whose families are less than 250% of the federal poverty guidelines. And that phase 1 isn't necessarily a year, it could be longer, so Bessie will be able to decide, you know, when it's time to move to phase 2 and then open it from there. So we'll be able to monitor how participation is, how the funding is. It's not so much a hurry up and rush it, trying to proceed thoughtfully and responsibly.
I thought special needs were included in the first phase and as well.
Students who, I mean, they are, but not necessarily as a specific group. So if they're previous year scholarship participants in kindergarten, previous year public school students, or out or below 250%.
Okay, that was not my understanding. I will get clarity on that.
And also in that phase 1, is the Students for Exceptionality Scholarship still available then in that phase 1?
That one's continuing. Now, and so that scholarship program is continuing. The students, the C, like that program, that one's not ending. So the Louisiana scholarship program is going to roll into this one, but the scholarship program for students with exceptionalities is continuing as it is for now.
And as the Gator bill is written right now, students who are in our Catholic schools, even if they're going into 4th grade, that means they've passed the kindergarten mark, and their families are 250% below poverty level, they're still not eligible because they were in a public school for the February count. Is that correct?
If their family's below the poverty level, they could still be eligible because it's meeting one of those 4 things. You don't have to meet all of them.
So in the TDC now, you have to meet all those categories. And I think I understand you to say you can meet one of those categories to qualify. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
And then since it is subject to appropriation, there'll be a prioritization that'll be in place too in the event that more students are eligible than there's funding for.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving along. Daphne. 5.2, a report provided by Ombudsman. We need a motion to receive the report. Kimberly, second. Lisa.
Good morning, everybody. This is a report and update on the LDOE, State Education Agencies Title II and IV project, next steps and communication. July 9th, as you know, we sent out applications for work group. We received those back, and in all honesty, we felt we wanted to do another outreach so that we are sure that people had a chance to apply. The response was not great. I'd say it was in the 20 range. We wanted to see if it was more, so it's better just to put that out there again to be sure, because our number one thing is to be sure that we are reaching all non-public schools that are from the various categories in terms of the different non-publics that are represented. Between July 24th and the 31st, we will be conducting interviews. The week of August 5th, a notification will go out to the work group members. August 12th, we'll have the first work group webinar, the second one on the 19th, and one on August 27th. Now, the week of September 2nd, the work group will make their final recommendations, and they will prepare to share those recommendations with the executive team. And on the 17th, this is where we will do a full report of everything. From the surveys, to the funding, to the work group recommendations, and of course, at that time, because you are our non-public counsel, feeling free to take input from you as well. Any questions? In the process of doing this, which is not on a slide, I want to commend you all for CAPE. I've been working with CAPE organizations with other states and hearing from them on the national level. And I think a couple of you, I've even said to you, this is something that Louisiana needs. So again, you do need to join. It's going to be very important, and it's going to be very important that you do your outreach to other non-publics that are independent, representing various religions, because it will be very, very important that you have that representation.
Daphne, I have a question.
Yes.
Quickly about the Title II and IV. So in our last meeting, I think you shared allocations from 2 years. Is that what we're talking about
For the next
next cycle, or is that another allocation?
It's probably going to be new allocations, because the finance team has been working very diligently on that, and also finding out what they can do and cannot do. And so you will have that full report. It will be a little more than that. Yeah,
And
most definitely.
Sorry, have you communicated that to the LEAs and they will share that information with us, or should we expect you to share that information with us
For
in September?
For
The additional
September,
funding?
no, that's going to come before the board.
Okay.
Yeah, not the LEAs. Because this is the LDOE and the non-publics, and not the LEA and the
And we'll have our
non-publics.
case in order by then, and we'll have someone representing all of our non-public schools.
Okay, and so that is great. And it's okay that we will have someone to represent the non-public schools, but do understand that we're doing outreach to all of the non-public schools that are VESI approved in Louisiana, because we do know we have some that are not.
And they can't be for-profit, correct?
They can be for-profit, correct. And moving to the next thing for ARPEs. The ARPEs program will be issuing notice of program closeouts. All ARPEs participants later this month. The notice will be uploaded as an attachment to the ARPEs budget application within the applicant portal. All the items purchased on behalf of the ARPEs program will be subject to inventory procedures and annual certifications as prescribed by the LDOE's procurement and inventory management system. They're going to get that information to you. In addition, please note the items listed in the notice of program closeout have been procured by the LDOE, but based on shipping times and availability. They may not yet be shipped, but subsequently not yet received by your school. The program is unable to provide a time frame for delivery, because as you know, when you order things for your school from your general budget, it just depends on the company and their shipping times and policies. For questions about your notice of program closeout related to educational technology procurements, please email EdTech. For any questions related to non-tech procurements, you're going to email the procurement desk, as we call it. Now, yes.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So the notices and the surveys that were sent out about Eames closeout that were sent to the principals this past year, will those notices go to the superintendents now, or will they continue to go to the principals?
I will find out that answer for you. If you do not mind, send me that in an email, and then I'm going to work out where it needs to go, because that's a very good question.
That would go to you guys,
Yes, sister, but you had, yes.
Yeah, but you guys
It should go
wanted
to
to
you,
know,
Sister
so
Carol.
we'll,
It should go to you, because some people were confused about how to answer the survey.
okay.
Yes.
Okay, so send me that, and then we will definitely send that on. As for Eve, as you know, yesterday was the deadline for everything for 6:30 purpose. And just a friendly reminder, EPERS will be submitted no later than August 15th for your other PERS. If you have any questions on PERS, you know to contact Tanya Johnson here at the department. And as I stated again, in reference to Kate, also Ashley, in terms of the connection, I will be happy to work with you all regarding the technology training. I think that's very good. My standard operation is I send it to the superintendents as well as to the schools, and that usually works pretty well. Any questions? Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any opposition? Thanks, Daphne. You're always so good about sending out those wonderful emails. But it helps, it does help that we can facilitate with our schools as well. You know, kind of holds a little bit more water. Okay, moving right along, consideration of the virtual instructional program. I need a motion to receive the report. Lisa, second. Sister Carol.
Good morning, my name is Dr. Kevin Haney. I'm with the LDOE, and I'm here this morning to speak to you about virtual programming. First, what is virtual programming? It is a way to provide access for students for difficult to staff courses and allows for some flexibility. Initially, it was designed with Calcus designed this program. They were recognized as a system of excellence. And what they did was they built a center, essentially, where they housed their virtual instructors who then taught virtually to students in the physical classrooms at all 11 of their high schools. And I'll show a picture of what that looks like, but the concept would be essentially the Diocese of Houma Thibodeau creating a building to hire teachers, and then using those teachers to teach at both Vanderbilt and at E.D. White. And so there are not, and I'll show this a little later, but it is not a hybrid model. There are not students present in the classroom while they're teaching virtually. It is strictly a virtual model of instruction. There are 4 models that the LDOE is sponsoring and supporting. The first one is the model that I just mentioned about having a center. Another is the opportunity for high schools or systems to work cooperatively to do this. So an example would be within the Archdiocese of New Orleans, would be Archbishop Shaw High School's physics teacher teaching a remote course to both Brother Martin and Jesuit, while the Jesuits' chemistry teacher is teaching remote to Brother Martin and Archbishop Shaw, just as an example of what that would look like. So it's not a single site remote out, it's all of these sites working cooperatively. Another model is partnering to provide a menu, so the school's cooperatively hiring a teacher or groups of teachers to say, we want to expand our course offerings. We're going to only, instead of having to hire an individual teacher for each of these schools, we're going to hire only a multitude of one teacher to do this work at all of these high schools. And then the last one is partnering with local colleges or universities to expand for your CTE and your STEM opportunities. They would have to be certified to teach high school students, but it would provide access in a way that you may not be currently capable of staffing. And so these are just some models, and again, the idea of how do we provide opportunities in ways that funding may limit us as an individual, but may be accessible through cooperations. And so this is just kind of an example of what that would look like, because I'm a visual person, so I want to provide a visual. And so you have one teacher, she is literally looking at a giant smartboard of all of her students across 11 high schools. The students are in the physical classrooms. They may take classes solely in person, then go into their virtual classroom to take the virtual class, and then go back into a class with other in-person students. And so the benefit is there is no transportation time. It is just your transition time that you would have normally built in to your schedule. One of the difficulties, though, is it would require a human adult presence in that virtual classroom. As I said, this started in Calcasieu. What they have done is they have hired a person at the level of a paraeducator, but they get a little bit more training in terms of tech support, tech guidance, and behavior management because they are the primary adult within the classroom. And so this is just, again, a visual to help see what that could look like. I did want to mention again what virtual programming is not. It is not hybrid instruction. It is not working to have students in person and virtually at the same time. When these teachers are teaching virtually, even if it's the multi-site school method, again, going back to Shaw working with Brother Martin and Jesuit, when that Shaw teacher is teaching to these other 2 schools, they are in the room by themselves with no students present, so that the focus is on virtual instruction specifically, not trying to do both. It also is not a method where we just throw a kid into the classroom because they've missed some time or they're going on vacation and they're going to go join this virtual classroom and get what they're missing, and then they go back to their regular scheduled class. This is a full enrollment period. So whether it's a semester-long class or a year-long class, they would be in that class for that entire time. And it's also not an alternative disciplinary method. We're not going to remove kids from the classroom and they go to go join the virtual. It is a structured class. They are enrolled. It is on their schedule. Now, the benefit of this, specifically for those students who may have a discipline action against them or an illness or travel, is that typically these teachers are recording their live presentations so that if a student does miss, they are capable of going back and getting the material that they missed in a way that they would not in a more normal class attendance. And so it does provide some flexibility there. And so at the LDOE, we're looking to support this through technical assistance, through connecting with support with Calcasieu because they are truly the experts in this field, but we're growing and expanding our capabilities of support. We've also worked with creating a memorandum of understanding, which I believe you were provided a copy of. And it is a very loose outline structure for how systems could partner together. And whether those systems are non-public to public, non-public to non-public, or even public to public, so that they can build these relationships, again, because it's about expanding the access and the availability for all students. And so when you look through that MOU, what you would see is that it is lots of fill in the blanks. We would encourage you, and our internal counsel will tell you, that you must get it reviewed by your own counsel to make sure that whatever agreement you come to works for you and your systems and your schools. But we did want to provide a rough outline. You see the Louisiana leaders at la.gov. If you want a digital copy of this, I can send it to you, or I'm sure members of this committee who have the access, they can send it to you as well. And so the last piece that also included was a frequently asked questions. That at the LDOE, we sponsored 14 systems and replicating this model within their system. So there are 14 systems across our state who are doing this work currently, trying to implement it, trying to get it started. And those systems would be good partners because they've been given funding and structures to actually do this work. And so you have that opportunity. I wanted you to have that frequently asked questions just so that you can have the mindset and the guidance that we provided them. But it is more specific to them because they were given funding and there's requirements that go along with that. Are there any questions or thoughts? Yes, ma'am?
I love the concept, but I have some questions about hiring the virtual teacher, supervising the virtual teacher, and paying for salary, compensation, benefits, all those things. How will that work if you have 4 schools? I can see that the host school, if you can choose to have this, would pay for the proctor in the classroom, the para. But who hires, supervises, and pays benefits for the virtual teacher?
So each model has a different structure. So in Calcasieu's model, what they have done is because they have a separate site, they've hired a separate supervisor. There is an administrator specific to that school. They have instructional leadership teams. They do all of the same work as a typical school from that single site. For other ones where they're partnering with its multiple sites, what they're doing is most of them are within single systems. So the system is responsible and the teacher at the physical site is being supported and monitored and evaluated by their administrator at that site.
And that principal or that school system would pay for benefits retirement?
Yes.
Would there be any responsibility by the partnering schools who work
So
virtually?
that's one of the things we covered in the MOU is that if you're going to partner, you're going to want to work out what that structure looks like in the sense of, are you going to buy seats, right? And so all of the receiving system is getting, or the receiving school is, hey, I need to buy 10 seats in your physics class. I need 10 students to get into there, and you tell me how much, I do that, and now it's supplementing for the other system who is hiring and doing the evaluating. Or it could be, and I go to these 2 systems because they're the 2 bigger ones, right? Homeland Thibodeau and the Archdiocese of New Orleans, in the sense of like, they could say, whoever wants to participate, we're going to create a menu of choices. You know, let's pool our money together and we're going to hire 4 teachers for these specific subjects that any one of our high schools can have students at. And so, again, the goal of this is to provide insight into possibilities, but to remain flexible enough to meet the needs of individual systems in schools. So at the end of the day, what I would encourage you to do is have those cross-partnership conversations and say, what works for us? How can we fund this in a way that makes sense? And then let's implement it and then monitor and adjust as you need it and keep going. And Calcasieu is on year 4, right? And so again, I go to them because they are the model of excellence in this. And there have been lots of lessons learned in how to do this. We are in year 1 of replicating it, and I'm really excited about the work that we've done so far. We're seeing Jefferson Parish has jumped on board, Ascension Parish, Assumption, win, right? But there's, across our state, parishes have really gotten excited about this work, and it is the opportunity to put students in classrooms access to material that they might have otherwise been denied or not have access to. And that part is the most exciting one.
Okay.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
walked in late.
Sure.
How-
Life.
Is there funding for us to participate?
Unfortunately,
Are we
there is.
bearing? Okay.
Unfortunately, there is not funding, but there is expertise and availability on how to do it. I would suggest, right, as a nonpartisan participant in this council, I would suggest leaning into the staff you already have currently, right? So you know in your schools who are those high-flying teachers. Again, I go to physics because it's the easiest one. You have a high-flying physics teacher working with the school that's employing that teacher to carve out one virtual session so that other schools can purchase those seats for that one teacher's virtual session. And now it's not as heavy of a burden on each of those schools. Because if, again, being from New Orleans, going to Shaw, it's an easy example to go to. If Jesuit buys 10 seats, Brother Martin buys 10 seats, and Rummel buys 10 seats from Shaw for their physics teacher, well, that's not a heavy burden on any of those, and it also would help fund Shaw having that teacher. But then I'm sure that Brother Martin Jesuit and Rummel have high-flying teachers too that then Shaw may want to buy, and maybe they just horse trade. You give us 10 seats in this class, and we'll give you 10 seats in that, and it doesn't cost us anything, and we can move on. So it really is just about the flexibility that you apply to it. Yes, sir.
And are you I mean, you described it as being a very synchronous kind of situation.
Yes, 100% synchronous, not asynchronous instruction. Yes.
So I'm just getting this clear. We're talking school to school. We did this years ago in Arkansas, where I was at that point, trying to get this covered. But now we have virtual schools, you know, like UIW has a K-12 virtual school. So, but you're paying a different price for that. So this is school to school working out an existing instructor there.
Yes.
And benefiting, you know, somebody's gonna fight on this. No, but it's a good idea.
Yeah.
It really does promote, you know, like 3 people sitting in a class for Cal 2 or something.
Yes, and one of the benefits with the Calcasieu model is they have 14 virtual classes going on at every period. So in the physical classroom for the students, one student might be taking American Sign Language, the next student is taking the history and theory of dance, and the next student is taking English for honors. All in the same virtual, physical classroom, but they're virtually in their own
They're
separate
like
class.
separate.
Yes.
So I'm getting, because I'm really slow at this, a lot of things I'm really slow at, but it's school to school within our
It could be school to
network.
school, yes.
It's not going out to UIW's virtual K-12
No.
school. It's school to school, so that should be some relief on some costs, I would think.
I would hope that, as I was just saying, the ability to horse trade and say, I give you 10, you give me 10, it's a wash in the cost there because neither one is having to pay for it. They're both getting the benefit from it. Yes, sir.
Again, Keith Leger, Department of Ed. I'm originally from Calcasieu Parish, and I retired from that school system. Tammy Abear is
Yes, sir.
is one of the instrumental people involved in that. One of the, you know, when I first spoke with Tammy about this a few years or so ago, one of the biggest challenges that they had, and I'm sure you can imagine this, is getting, I think there's 13 or 14 different high schools in Calcasieu Parish, is getting them all to go onto the same bell schedule. And they did it. But that's how that was a key part, key component of pulling it off.
That's part of the root of that synchronous.
Yes, yes. Again, it's not without its own set of challenges, but the goal of presenting this to you in particular is the same goal that Calcasieu was trying to address, is that they have students at a high school with 1,500 kids, and they can provide this plethora of options. And then they have schools with 12 graduating kids who don't have access to the same options. And that's not, it shouldn't be the responsibility of the student based upon where they live, what access they have. And so it is a way to expand that access. It does take work, it does take management, it would take detailed, nitty-gritty conversations more than what that MOU has within its confines, but there is the possibility of making that happen. Because even if you can only get one class synchronized, one block per day synchronized, well, you got one block that you know you can provide access in a way that you couldn't before. And so, again, I encourage it. I'm a huge proponent of it after seeing Calcasieu's model and seeing our systems that have bought in, try to replicate it. I'm all on board, and I am happy to serve as a brain to pick and to provide any construct or structure mindset that I can to help you. And so on the slides, there's Louisiana leaders. You can email that and it would come to me, or you can email me directly at kevin.nanny, N-A-N-N-E-Y, at la.gov. And I will be happy to serve as that brain or sponsor or support in any way that I can. Perfect.
Thank you for sharing this information with us.
Of course.
This has been happening forever, but like, I was in high school eons ago. I graduated from Louisiana High School, which we didn't have a lot of offerings. So we took physics online with a very now antiquated system. And we took calculus through the Louisiana School for Math, Science, and the Arts with a couple of other schools. And I think our Survey of Fine Arts course was also virtual somehow. So this is a great way to provide opportunities for those who would otherwise not have them.
Yes, and I'm glad you said it, because it brought me to another idea that I want to mention, is that one of the other benefits of this is that more local control over the evaluation and support of that classroom teacher. So you were going with the Louisiana High School for Science and Math, that's Plaquemines Parish didn't have much say in who that teacher was, what they were teaching, how they were teaching, what was happening. Whereas within the confines of this agreement, even if you're buying seats, you have the opportunity to not buy those seats. And because you're hopefully working together, there will be conversations about, this is what we want, this is how our students respond, these are the expectations that go along with it. You do have that more sense of localized control. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, moving right along, consideration of a report and structure minutes for a group. I need a motion to receive the report.
Motion to
Dr. Raynell, second, Dr. Mark Williams. Christie, that's you?
No, I'm not a structuralist. Run both for her.
Certification. We need to go over that.
That's the second one, part two, so I don't know what to do.
So there's no report
Yeah, so last time you all talked about the idea of instructional minutes in our public schools and wanted to dig a little bit more deeply into what's required, what should be required, how are the requirements different, should the requirements be changed, and there's really a lot of opportunity for some conversation on that. We reached out about putting that together, didn't get a whole lot of people jumping on board to be part of that quite yet, so we thought, you know what, it's busy and it's summer, let's take a little pause and then we'll try again and reach out. So if you have somebody in your network that you think could contribute to that conversation, we'd appreciate you just letting us, you can nominate them. I'm sure they would appreciate that. Or you can self-nominate as well, up to a certain number of people, but we, if you have somebody that you would recommend to be part of that, we appreciate that. And we'll reconvene that group over the next, couple months, and we'll get a couple of meetings set up for them to talk. But just wanted to give y'all an update on.
I thought we had a group already in place.
Paul was the
Paul
chair.
was the chair.
I was the chair, and then we
Michelle
have,
was on.
and Sister Carol, and so it was just you two. So we thought y'all might prefer some.
Michelle's on it.
Michelle Chasson, she's not here, but she's on it. Right.
Good.
I believe, yeah.
So yeah, we thought we would just kind of make an appeal if y'all have a couple other voices. We don't want to make it too big because then it gets hard to have a conversation, but we thought a couple other perspectives to add to the conversation would be
And
good.
we don't all have to go to that bridge for the meeting, right?
Right, I think we were going to do probably do that.
Come right on.
We can talk through some options for that.
And then if I need to come, I will. It's that important, okay?
Thank you.
with the.
Okay, Christie, I need the motion to receive 5.5, bid regarding certification.
Motion to receive.
Motion to receive, Councilman Louise, and second, Kimberly. We saved you, we usually save Daphne for last, but we saved you for last. I'm not sure why,
I'm short
because I
today.
didn't put the agenda together.
I am short today, so I don't want to be between you and lunch. It's very short, it's just this one slide. We are very excited to announce, we've been talking about we need to rebuild our system for quite some time. It's really complicated, apparently, and we are working on phase 1. Will be just the question submission portal. Testing occurs, it started June 17th. It's been updated since I sent this slide in. It's going through Wednesday of this week on the 19th. We hope to have all the bugs worked out by the end of the week, but it's really going to depend on our work with our developers and when they can get those things fixed. The potential rollout date is the end of this month, beginning of August. From your perspective, you won't necessarily see a whole lot of new links or anything. You're going to go to the same place you always did to do ask a question. The only difference is we're hoping, if we can get it all done seamlessly for you, is that you'll have to create a Mila account first, and there'll be some web forms that you fill out as far as the question response part. The Mila account creation will assist in tying all of your questions submitted to us and to the LDOE once the rest of the LDOE rolls onto this platform in one place so that you can see your history. If you are an HR or a preparation provider user to be able to access the office hours, there is potentially an additional step that will be required through EdLink security. However, we are trying to talk our developer into using a download from our current platform, upload to the new place so that there won't be any additional steps for you. That is still in conversation and testing this week, and so once I get that final information from them, hopefully it's a yes and it works just fine, we can roll you over and there'll be no additional steps. However, if there's not, there may be some additional steps for those that need access to office hours, and we'll send that out. My hope is that we can send out the final decision with our certification email blast. We had our monthly call on Monday, our email blast usually goes out about 10 days after that. So I'm hoping they have all the bugs fixed by then and we can put it in the email blast. However, if it's not, we'll send a separate email blast out specifically for the system rollout, but just wanted to flag it for you all so that no one is surprised that access may be a little bit different. You'll have to register for a Mila account. Wanted to make sure that you had a heads up. We've been talking about it for a while, but it's so close to rollout. Just wanted to get that to you all today. And that's really the only update that I have that I can provide for you today. Any questions?
Any questions, but after this?
Sure. We're excited about the rollout. We hope it's going to make it simpler. You'll be able to provide some information in the forms, and the more information you can provide to us, the better information we can provide to you all and your stakeholders. So we're excited that we're in phase 1. Can't wait for the application in phase 2. Hopefully that's coming down the pipe in a couple of months, and hopefully next time I can update you on that. So that's all I have.
Any other further discussion? Okay, that concludes our agenda for today. Thanks to the department and all of you who work tirelessly, not only with your public counterparts, but with us as non-publics. We certainly appreciate all that you do for us, and we hope that we will continue to be there for all the students that are entrusted to our care. And so, for those of us who are in leadership roles, 24-25 is right around the corner. They always say to educators, how's your summer going? People really think that we have 3 months off until you get into the role, and then you realize you don't have any time off. So good luck to all of us who are those leaders in our own school communities, and we will see all of us back on September the 17th. We hope that we will all come back continuing to move forward in the educational system. So the meeting is adjourned.